Hi. Okay. So it's funny because I know that I'm primarily talking to you, but it's also talking to everybody else while we're recording. Yeah. So we'll be talking about the uh, doing some womb healing and what the womb holds. And so, yeah, Kelly, as we're talking about the womb space, what you and anybody who's watching the recording, I just encourage you to really feel into your body. That this is not about, I was thinking about creating a PowerPoint for this, and to me, it's actually does a disservice to the body and to the body-based work, and what our body holds when we're overly intellectual about it. So my hope is to feel your way through as I speak about some of this.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
um I'm gonna try to, okay, just want to make sure it's spotlighting me for the recording. So the biggest thing I just want to share, and Kelly, if you do have anything to share, I can always push pause on the recording too. Okay, so um,
Cool.
but what I'll just say is that the womb space, the pelvic space, it's like, I don't love this term, but I think it's a way to have it really hit home, is that it's like an emotional junk drawer. So when something traumatic or something difficult happens in our life and it's too much for our mind to process, or we never found completion with it, it will land in the pelvic space. And it can land anywhere in our bodies, but most often a lot of these things land in the pelvic space. And that's for a lot of different reasons. The pelvic bowl is the place of, it's where we develop our roots. It's where we develop our sense of safety. It's our connection to our family. And so a lot of the times, many of the traumas and the pain that we hold is in relationship to that. It's also, relationship to our sexuality, yeah, childhood, family. I know I already mentioned that, menstruation. And so it's these energetic centers in our bodies that hold all those energies. And so when something is too painful or difficult to face, it gets stored there. And it's why I'm really passionate about this part of the body. And I've seen it time and time and again, how much it's held just from being a pelvic PT and from doing internal work, what we hold in our muscles and our fascia in that space. So yeah, it's where we hold things when we're not ready to process it. And so when I say pelvic, I use the term pelvic bowl. So I'm just going to show the pelvic bowl is that it's like a bowl. And it's like, if you think about a bowl, it holds things, you put things in it. And so a lot gets stored here. And so, and yeah, and I want to say too, this also is true for men. So I just like to say that this is for all people. So how that can show up, and I want to share, when anytime we have energetic blocks, it can show up as being unclear in life. And Kelly, we were just talking about this, but feeling stuck, not feeling like we have our full power. And so a big part of why I do pelvic and healing work, which is really just healing work in general, right? Because it's just part of the body, is I find that as we clear what we hold here, a lot of things open up. And I see it time and time and again, how much people's lives start to change. And from the work that I do with people, and it's not because of me, I mean, I'm a channel for this work, but it's because when we come to the pelvic space, there's truth there. There's deep, deep truth there. And when we realize that we have to face the truth to live a satisfying life, it just spreads out and affects everything else around us. So when we talk about what energetic imprints do we store there, like what gets stored there, I'm just going to go through a few things, and I'm just going to say these different words, and again, I'm going to have you come into your body. I'll even encourage you to close your eyes, and I'm just going to share some of the main things that can get stored in the pelvic space that maybe we haven't thought of in a while, or that you've never thought of, about what can get stored there. So yeah, if I can just have you do that, just try closing your eyes if that feels okay, and drop into your body. And yeah, these are some of the things that can get stored, these energetic imprints that can get stored in the body, in the pelvic space. And so some of those is past relationships, previous lovers, both sexual and not, emotional memories, childhood wounds, stories around our fertility, stories around our creativity, also can be unmet dreams, creativity that's not coming out, that's not coming into form. It can be grief or loss, such as miscarriage, stillbirth, abortion, grief or loss, a loved one, an animal. It can be shame. Deep shame is held in the pelvic space, and I'd say it's the number one thing that contributes to us not living in deeper alignment and connection with our body, is the shame that we hold, not only about around our bodies and the functions of our bodies, but the way that we truly want to live. And I know we even spoke about that a bit ago, but a lot of it comes back to shame of not being who other people expect us to be. We can hold energetic imprints in relationship to our menstruation, anything around our menstruation. It can be emotionally, how it felt when we first received our first bleed, who was there for us, how our menstruation feels now, any beliefs around it. We can hold sexual shame, guilt. We can hold a lot of medical trauma. We've worked with a lot of women who actually still hold the energetic imprints of certain tools in their bodies. So whether it's speculums, clamps, scalpels, I know that sounds intense, but we hold these things in our bodies, even if we're under anesthesia. And that's different for everybody. And it's not necessarily true with everybody. We also hold words and beliefs in other people. So words that maybe people have said to us about our bodies. I'm going to just share just an example. My sister has always told me that I have cankles, my older sister, and I continue to hold that. And that's what it sounds like, really like, but I'm just going to share that, right? In someone's words, they stick to us, right? And they get held in our bodies, right? And they affect how we feel about ourselves. And especially being in a feminine body, we've constantly had people talk about our bodies from a young age.
Yeah.
We also hold birth trauma. If you've been through birth, it might not, we've all been through birth as humans, whether it's your own birth or the birth of your own child. Even when we're tiny, right, our bodies hold on to that. And we also hold a lot of mother wounds and father wounds. So our connection or relationship to our mothers and our fathers go pretty deep, and they're held in our ovaries. And so there's a lot more, but I just wanted to share I share that because we can get a grasp of just how much we hold here. It's a lot. And in a moment I will move into the beauty that we hold here too. But I like to share the blocks and the pain and the heaviness first, because that's what can get in the way of being connected to what's underneath all of that, which is all the beauty.
Wow.
Yeah. So I want to just first pause there and just, if there's any words that you would just like to share around what you're feeling, or
Is it okay for me to go?
Yeah. Would you like me to pause it, or would you like me to leave it on? It's up to you.
I don't mind if you leave it on. That's totally okay. Honestly, that brought up a lot of stuff for me, like, because I once saw a healer. I also forgot to mention to you, I saw someone who was like a shaman.
Oh yeah.
And she was amazing. And she said I was holding a lot of energy in my stomach. Like, I forgot to mention that to you. She didn't say the pelvis area, but like I was feeling some of that as we were talking. Like, it's just like trapped in there and it's stuck. And I feel like, again, it's like I hold on to people's opinion of me, I think is a big thing. What society thinks I should be doing. Like, I've heard this is what you should do. This is what you're capable of.
Yep.
So many times that I think I've lost track. And I think that rules me a lot. I think another thing that connected with me was relationships with my family was a big one. relationship with an animal, of course, my beautiful Lucy, my dog. Um, and also shame.
Mhm.
That the shame like really hit me. I think that's like something you were spot on about, like that we all hold it
Yeah.
in a way. Like I definitely hold on to some shame, which I'm not going to go into, but like there are some things that you just like, I don't know. Yeah, but like it's just interesting to think that it's all in that area because like it's so true. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. It just feels like it is.
Yeah, you can feel the energy there, right? And that's where, and what I'll encourage you to do is breathe in, just simply bring breath into it. Bring breath into it because there's an aspect where it's trapped, but also anytime we bring breath to what we're feeling, the energy starts to move.
Okay.
So I want to be, I think the word trap can be powerful, but
Yeah.
also energy wants to move too. So just simply as you bring breath there, it allows it to move. Okay, so I'm just going to say that to you and anybody who's listening to, is that whatever you're feeling, simply breathe into it. And there's a lot of different ways to do it, to move energy. And that's what I do in my own one-to-one healing work too. But the breath is one of the most powerful forces to do that. Because right as you feel it in your body, the energy is already moving. So I just want to reinforce that yes, there's an aspect where it's been trapped, but as we start to bring awareness to it and we bring breath to it, it starts to move, and have trust in that too, you know. I've been really big fan of
Even when I breathe, though, it's just like not. Does it make sense that I just feel like I'm not connecting to it right away? Like even when I breathe.
totally. Yeah. It might not be ready to let go, right? And it might have something, um, and we're in like this more like, even though you're the only one here, right? We're still in this
Right.
group setting, right? And so if I was one-to-one with you, we could go into it more deeply, but a lot of times it might need to be more deeply connected with, to really feel like it's felt and to really, to really, really engage with it is the best
Gotcha.
way to explain it. We're kind of staying super, a little surface level on some level in here. um yeah, shamanism really affects a lot of my work. I've worked a lot in shamanism, and I love it. So
It's
it,
amazing.
yeah, it really influences a lot of my work. So yeah, there's a lot of shamanic tools, and breath work is just one of those. Um but yeah, and so if you're feeling that, respect that too, right? So
Yeah.
even being with that, bringing that softness of like, it's okay, let's just be with it, let's just be with this feeling of it being stuck even, you know?
It's funny that you said it's okay because those were like some of the few words she used with me during my session. Like she was saying, my body's trying to tell me it's okay. Like she said that was a very strong phrase that she was feeling coming out. So it's interesting that you said that. So I think it's just again like my body's holding on to it, doesn't want to let go.
Yeah, it's, I will say with anything, we have to have deep acceptance of something first. And
Yep.
sometimes the acceptance is that it just wants to stay for a minute, it just wants to be here with us and let it be felt, you um sometimes it shows the impact of just how much you've been through. It's like our bodies are our living libraries, and so sometimes if we move the energy too quick, right, we don't let the wisdom of that living library really stay with us too.
Right.
So I think that connects to just what I would love to share about the womb space is also the seat of deep wisdom, and it's our creative and sexual power center. And so when there is that feeling, Kelly, that of like feeling that there's something stuck, right? The the powerful piece of that is knowing that there is something that resides underneath that. And so I'm gonna just share a few things that we hold in our body. And I want you to also feel this too, right? So I'm a big fan of like, yes, we hold pain and heaviness in our body, but equally 100% there is always this lighter aspect of beauty. And it's not about judging one being good or one being bad. It's just knowing that we hold both polarities within our bodies. So what we also hold and really feel into your body as I say this is desire, is pleasure, sensuality, feeling, our emotions, our connection to our inner child that's always with us. Which also is connected to our inner mothering, outer mothering, caretaking. Also hold art, here our intuition. When I say intuition, right, it's this knowing, this really deep knowing. It doesn't make sense. It often doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And that's connected to our magic that we also hold in our womb and our pelvic space, our connection to our ancestors. We connect to our ancestors through our ovaries. Our ancestors live behind our ovaries. And there's so much more that we hold here too, from a body, beautiful base perspective. You know, it's the place of truth often. Often I ask is, what's our root saying? And it's because there's a different truth that comes from our root versus our mind. And so as I list all of those, just notice how the womb, yeah, it shows up in everything. I'm just gonna shut my door. It shows up in everything and it touches everything. And so when we're feeling, my husband's just getting home. When we're feeling this block in our sacral center, you know, in our sacral chakra, there can just feel, it's like this feeling of being blocked somehow, right? It can feel like a unexplained anxiety or depression, a confusion about life. It can feel like a sense of lack of safety or a feeling of scarcity. No matter what, right? No matter how much money or how much of a sense of safety or how many things that we actually hold around us, we can still feel a sense of scarcity. And it can also be, you know, these energetic blocks can also lead to a difficulty with intimacy too, both sexually, but even with friendships or family. Yeah. And so, yeah, just even connect to, if you feel any of those in your own body, and how there's always, that's not, you know, sometimes I think we start to identify with these things and say that's just us, but often it's not just us, right? It's not just our personality. It's these things that have, you know, from a cumulative aspect collected in our pelvic space and in our bodies, that as we start to clear it away and clear away the debris, we start to connect to who it is that we actually are. So I'm just gonna simply list what this can lead to. You know, I shared some of what the energetic blocks can lead to from an emotional standpoint, but I just want to share some of what it can lead to from a physical symptom standpoint. So anything that's happening emotionally or energetically will also impact our physical bodies, of course. And so just know that, you know, this can lead to any sense of pain in the hips and the abdominal, the GI, the low back, pelvic space, sexual pain. It can lead to urinary issues, you know, UTIs, BV. And it can also kind of lead to, you know, and this is always one aspect. I will always say this is just one aspect of it, but it's often what underlies some of these issues is it can lead to like weight gain in the hips and the gut area and the abdomen as well. So I just like to share, you know, both the energetic and the physical aspect of what the womb space can hold. And so what womb healing is really about is it helps to restore our womb to the original state. And when I say in its original state, it's innocent, clear, pure state. And I don't mean pure from a purity culture standpoint. I mean it from a kind of breath of fresh air. What was there before we picked all of it up? And so as we clear some of the trauma and the emotional blocks, all of what I listed, we dissolve these energy cords and these attachments that we hold to what we've been carrying, and we find more clarity in our lives and more connection in our lives to pleasure and to the things that we really enjoy. So let me pause there, and I know we don't have much time left, but I just wanted to see if that made sense or if you have any questions about that.
Yes, absolutely. So I felt a really strong connection when you were talking about creativity. I
Mhm.
feel like that's something I always feel more aligned when I let myself dance, for example. And I think ever since like what I've gone through with my body and having to accept, its changes, like with my bones and things like that, and hearing a lot of people say, "Oh, this is going to change how you dance." I think it like shut down my creativity in a way.
Yeah.
And that energy got trapped there, and I've noticed that when I do let myself, every once in a while, I'll be in my apartment and I'll just let myself dance like I used to. And it's not, obviously, it's not the same, and that's okay. But I feel this sudden happiness and joy. And it's like, I'm free again.
Yeah.
And I think, again, it's like, it's because that energy is trapped there and it needs to be let out, literally. Like, I feel like I'm freeing some kind of energy. And so, yeah, creativity was a huge one for me. And I think I just like hold on to it. And then another one for me is intuition and truth. Like, I feel a lot of that there. Like, my gut instinct, they always call it like that. I've always felt instinctual feelings. I
Yeah.
think we all do, obviously. But like, yeah,
Yeah.
I really, over the years, I feel like I've felt them more and more.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we all, right, we're all intuitive, but some of us have stronger intuition, and different types of intuition, which I
Yeah.
could talk about all of these different things in their own session for hours, right?
Right.
But creativity, and it's something I'm actually even working on in my own life too, is, we can do all this healing work, but we sometimes forget just how we are creative beings, right? Even as, and I love how you zoomed in on the creative being, because if you think about what the womb is and its pure state, it is creation. I
Yes.
can say that that is the womb within us. We can say it's the universal womb, right? Or Mother Earth, right? It is, it is the ultimate creator, and we can say that from we can talk about babies, but I'm going to really extend that out into, it's bringing anything from the spirit or from the unseen world into form, essentially. So dancing, right, it's bringing form into something you're feeling energetically, or even emotion, or and what I will say is that, yeah, when we don't let that energy move, it will make us sick, because we need to create. We need to let, there is a reason we came to earth, and we have to let that energy move through us,
Yeah.
you know um and one of my teachers says that, what's the quote that, um it's something along the lines of, if we don't create our create if we don't use our creativity will use us. And that can mean different things to different people, but the way that I see it is that if we don't allow that creative energy to move through, it's going to find a way to move through in a different way, and it might not, and it might be a way that doesn't feel as pleasant to us.
Right. It'll like use us, as in
Yeah,
like abuse us, like it'll
because
it'll
it's like,
suffocate. It's like I'm trying to get out.
exactly, it's like it wants to move, and it's a huge, yeah,
It's like I feel like when I finally do dance, it's this sense of relief, like release. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I love dancing, but it never used to feel that intense. And I think that's a sign of my body saying, hey, you're not letting me dance enough or create enough,
yeah.
you
Uh,
know?
yeah, and Kelly, what I'll say too, right, is, and this is where we don't even have to do an energy healing today, because do you notice what comes in? Do you notice like some of the downloads that have come in while we're talking about this?
No.
So I'll say, so it's, your body needs to move. You need to dance. That's
Oh,
kind of what
yeah, I see what you're saying. When you said downloads, I
I
was like,
know.
what do you mean by
That
downloads? I was like, wait a second, what?
I know I shouldn't use like too much of the spiritual terminology, but when I say downloads, it's like these aha moments, right?
Oh, okay, that's what you meant.
That's what I should say instead. Like, do you notice how the part of the healing is these aha moments that we need,
Mhm.
you know? And so those things come in even when we're just talking about this. And so, you know, for you it might be like, wow, like my creativity is a bit stagnant right now. Like I need to dance. I need to move. It's a huge part of who I am.
Yeah.
Somebody else, they might a moment of abuse might come up for them, right? I was in a group session last week and something came up in a relationship to that. So my point is when we even start to connect these this knowing comes in and things start to come to the surface, you know,
Yeah,
and holding.
that's amazing. Oh my God, you're so right. It's like I knew I said it for myself.
Right.
And then that comes back to gut instinct, like your own instinct. You know what's best for
You
you.
know,
You can literally feel it.
yeah. And
Yeah.
this is where you hold your own healer within too, right? Like when I do hold healing sessions with people, I'm like, this isn't about me like fixing anything, right? This is about me leading you back to your own intuition, your magic. And there's so much there, right? There's so much there when we just simply provide the space for it, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I think that's ultimately what the womb is looking for the most is like, just connect with me.
Yeah.
So what I'll just encourage you, although we don't have time to really get into like the guided womb healing, um, most importantly, listen to just what came in, you know, and if that's shaking your hips. So I'll say even like shaking, right? I know you can't,
Mhm.
let me tilt my screen down. Even just like that, right?
Yeah, right.
It's like,
Is that like a womb healing exercise? Like, are there exercises, or is that just like you just recommending, like,
there's there's a lot of different tools. Yeah, there's like a infinite number of tools that I could give for womb healing. But shaking is an often I mean, it's for you too, really what came up, but shaking is a really powerful way to move energy.
right?
You know, like think about
Because
how
it's
like dogs.
releasing what's stuck.
Yeah, exactly. Like think about how dogs, when they have fleas, right? They shake, right? They shake to like, get
Yeah.
rid of that parasitic energy, right? So,
Yeah.
so even yeah, when you shake, it's like it's just moving the energy. It's physical, you know. It's good for your physical body. It's good for the energy to move as well. Um, yeah, there's a lot of different tools, and I was going to use more of a visualization today, but that's one thing I think could be really helpful for you. And you're under bleed too, so as you're bleeding, like know that your menstruation is an emotional release. It is an emotional release. So every month our bleed happens to help remove some of the stagnancy of what we're holding. So as you connect to that and you appreciate it and you bring gratitude and you hold space for that, it's only going to support you more in releasing all that you're holding as well.
Yep. Yep. I definitely, one thing that really helped me that you mentioned last time, the other masterclass I did, was when you said to allow your bleed, like to use, instead of using tampons and things that stop the flow, to just let it flow with other products. And I've done that for my past two bleeds. And I did notice and it was really aggravating at first because I wanted so badly, it's like
Mm-hmm.
because the flow was really heavy the first time around, but the
Yeah.
second time around, it wasn't as heavy. And I was like, well, that's weird. And I wonder if it's because I was just letting it flow. Like, if I don't know if that's even a thing that happens, like if your body's like, thank you for letting me just flow out naturally, so I'm going to be less heavy and intense. I don't know. But regardless, it felt good to just,
Yeah. Yeah. It absolutely does. Yeah. So I mean, it will show up different for everybody, but I mean, yeah, there's so many different reasons for that, but a part of it too is, yeah, anytime you're kind of blocking something up, like the body's going to want to get rid of something. So it's actually sensing that something's there. So the body's like, ooh, let's send more out, right? To release this.
right.
And also, I mean, tampons, even when even if they're organic, it's still a foreign thing in your body. And
Yeah.
they're even organic products hold pesticides, and even if they're not sprayed, they still, or toxins, I'm sorry, I should say toxins. And so you're putting more into your body that your body's like, let's expel this, let's get rid of this, right? So um it's not to say don't ever use a tampon again, or don't ever use a cup again. I don't mean it that
Right.
way. In general, if you can avoid them, if you're at home and if you have the space, I'm always like, yeah, do it. So,
Exactly. That's what I was able to do because I was at home. But I have noticed, like, if I'm, going out, like, especially like with friends or something, and like it's, especially during the summer, no, like I gotta use a tampon, and I accept that that's okay. Like, I just figure, like I will do this to the best of my ability when I can. And I do notice that it helps because before I just
yeah,
used to use them all the time because of the fact that my bleed was so heavy. And I think that it almost made me feel, again, like we were talking about the subconscious feeling of shame, like of having to stop it, as if it, like, like this is a woman's beautiful time that, like, again, menses are ultimately what allow us to give birth. Like, if we didn't have it, we wouldn't be able to give birth. So, like, why can't we honor it? And so it's like tampons really are associated with shame. And so
right,
I don't
right.
know, it's kind of cool that my body, I was just letting it do its thing and not be ashamed of it.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, it just allows us to connect, right? Yeah, there's a part of tampons that make us like, let's pretend like the period is not even happening, right?
Yeah.
There's this aspect of it, which again, sometimes we need that. Sometimes we like want that, right?
Right.
But yeah, but when we live from that place, it's very different. So I'm so happy you're already making these changes, and I think you'll continue that. Like the more you can connect and create space, and I think the more. So let me stop the recording.